Hey, welcome to Two Guys Garage. Today, it's +2.
Yes.
We've got Rick Squires, his son Mitch. They're bringing a ton of power STS turbos.
All right, how much, guys?
How much you want?
Love that answer.
Want a lot.
All right, we're gonna build a real American dream for an even bigger American hero. Sit yourself down and get ready to get all the details on Two Guys Garage.
All right, I know you're drooling over this stuff, but that's like reaching right into the candy jar, man. We got to show you a little bit more about this ride. Now, as Willie mentioned, this is a very special ride for a very special guy. This is Gunnery Sergeant John Hayes.
Yeah, he was a bomb disposal technician. What happened on December 28th, 2010, was he accidentally stepped on an IED, traumatic amputation of both his legs and half his pelvis. But he's a Marine, that didn't slow him down at all. So the stock LS3 at 430 horsepower, not enough for our guy. And check out how he actually drives and handles and maneuvers this car. Here's his throttle. He actually pulls this, and that mashes the gas down here, and then he pushes it this way for braking and steers with his right hand. So he's got a handful of, sort of stuff here involved with the car and get it to perform. And now we're gonna add a few hundred horsepower to it.
Yeah, now John's no slouch to challenges. He's already out there trying to pick up new skills like skiing. He's doing marathons. And
bicycling.
Part of his dream is getting this ride to the next level and the next level, and we brought some friends in to kind of help us do that. Now we've got a complete kit here from STS Turbos. Now why don't you walk us through a little bit?
Rick, what do we got here?
Yeah, we got T3, T4 turbos that are good for about 1,000 horsepower. We're not going to run that much on this car, obviously.
Okay.
And we got the wastegates here that control the boost levels. Right. Those are made by TurboSmart for us. And this all just kind of goes in the back of the car.
Well, it goes in the back of the car where you want the weight, as opposed to a turbo in the front, hanging over the front of the car where you don't want the weight.
Yeah, and you're kind of balancing out. Once you pop the mufflers on, this goes right in that sort of muffler location. You can see the 4 pipes come out the back. We got some really nice tips that'll go on here. So you know what? I think the back's starting to make some more sense. We got a whole lot of work to do under the hood.
Me and Rick will start the fuel injectors. How about Mitch? You want to team up with your boy?
Skins?
Here?
All right, man. We're in.
Let's do this. So Rick, we got some T3s and T4s in the back of this. Thank God. I couldn't imagine trying to come up with a front-mounted turbo system for this, because a lot of plastic parts in here.
A lot of stuff up here.
You'd have to heat shield just about everything. I'm sure accessibility is probably a big issue when you get to some of these things like this, because you can't get the plugs.
Well, it's a car. You're going to have to work on it. So to be able to get all that stuff out of here, it's hard enough to get in with this much stuff under the hood.
Yeah, those front-mounted turbos require custom exhaust and so forth, generate a lot of ambient heat. This way, it's back there, so we can get right after it. Now tell me, we have 42-pound fuel injectors in here now. We're going to obviously throw a lot more air at it. So what kind of fuel injectors?
You got to have some fuel. Yeah, we're going to put 65-pound fuel injectors in. Okay. We're going to pull the spark plugs out, put some colder plugs in, and get this air intake stuff all out of the way too.
Okay. Okay, now Rick, you know that you tapped into the motor oil via the scavenger system, because you got to keep that ball bearing turbo oiled up. And people think ball bearing turbos, they think just like regular ball bearings, but they're not. They're made out of alloy, specifically designed to take the heat and the speed that they're running at, right?
Yeah, these are actually ceramic ball bearings.
Okay, cool. Now you tapped off the back of the block here for the scavenger pump. You're going to return it up to the valve covers, right?
Yeah, well, a lot of people have to return to the oil pan with a gravity drain system, but with our pumps, we can actually pull the valve covers off, return there. It's a lot easier than getting to the oil pan.
Makes all the sense in the world. Mitch, how you doing, man?
Hey.
All right, you're gonna take that, you're gonna tap there and there, and then we pull off this fuel rail. Get ready to go with this. All right.
Okay, so we're gonna put a place for the return oil from the turbos. And like these guys were saying, the valve cover is a really easy place to get, because it's a whole lot easier than pulling off an oil pan. So we've got our PCV kind of running through this, chamber right here. We've got a little cover. It's all staked on. Now the first thing we're going to do is
we're going to pry this tab open right here, pulling these two off, and then we are going to get that open just enough to fit these snips in there, and snip this off to the pattern that we've made.
Okay, now why is it all funny shaped like that?
So that we can bend this part sticking out a little bit down, sealing off this chamber right here so that no oil will get in there that we do not want.
Kid's sharp, man. Yeah, so we're gonna keep all this oil flowing in from going right into our PCV, getting sucked in the intake manifold, which is a bad thing. So we'll keep these two separated. All right, so we're gonna fold that down, seal it off, and we gotta drill a hole somewhere right there, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna hit it with the center punch right here. Then we will use the pilot drill bit so that we can get the next size drill bit to go in straight. And then we will tap it with this, making it so that it's threaded for the bolt to go in.
Right, so we're gonna take this fitting right here and we're gonna stick it right in that tapped hole, right? Now what are we gonna do before we put this in?
Put some Teflon tape on it so that we'll do what
I'm
we
taking
want it
notes,
to do.
man. Nothing gets by this kid. All right, so you ready to make some chips?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, so me and Rick are buttoning up the top half here. We got the new injectors in. We got the valve covers drilled. Now we're gonna change some plugs on it. We got some Champion, some Iridium plugs. I guess you want to run a cooler plug. Obviously, you're putting more air, you're putting more fuel in there. It makes the cylinder pressure in there a lot hotter, that combustion.
Yeah,
it's a lot hotter. You want to try to cool it down your best can with some plugs, right?
Yeah, you got a lot of cylinder pressure, so
Yes.
we have to shut the gap down, put the gap down about 35 thousandths on these.
Okay.
And then we run a couple steps colder, so it keeps the plug cooler because it gets pretty hot in there with
Yes, it does. Well, you're adding so much more fuel, so much more air. It's definitely going to get hotter. So we'll get these new plugs in there, get that down a little bit, and have this top half buttoned up.
Now, as Rick mentioned, we're going to close the gap down, make it spark a little bit easier, especially with all that extra dense air and fuel in there, which kind of makes some resistance. So get yourself a nice little simple tool, and you can kind of fold down that electrode, just like that, and then go in there and, you know, check your gap, get them all nice and squared, and you're ready to go. Now, heat is important, right? You want actually heat in that spark plug because it's good for ignitability. It helps get that initial kernel started and lets that flame front really build from there. If it's too cold, you're gonna have ignitability problems. But because of all that power, we do wanna make sure that we don't get over temped, and that's why we're dropping that heat range down, because that's where you get pre-ignition and serious engine damage. Now we're gonna run these Champion Iridiums. Champion makes spark plugs from everything from top fuel down to lawnmowers, but thankfully they make one right in the middle too for our Corvette. So we're gonna run the Iridium, which is a real premium hard material, so you're gonna get real long life. And you can see we've got kind of a nice little fine wire. We've got a little thick base there to absorb some of that heat. It's gonna be a great plug to do a lot of burnouts. Stick around, we'll be right back.
So if you're asking yourself or thinking to yourself, maybe I should replace my struts or my shocks, there's a good chance you're a little too late. Our friends at KYB have developed the 4 C's of vehicle control. The first one actually being vehicle control. Now, if you think about vehicle control, it's the ability to steer, stop, and turn your vehicle regardless of road conditions or speed. And the second C is being tire and ride control. Now that would be the steering, suspension, and brakes all kind of working together to control the tires. See, a lot of us think of shocks and struts as just that little contact patch on the tire, when in all actuality, it's controlling the entire vehicle, the entire mechanism. You know how you feel that mushy and soft feeling from side to side? New struts and shocks help alleviate that. The third C is what's called ESC, or electronic stability control. It's mandated for all new cars, but you're gonna find that on most newer passenger trucks and cars. And the fourth C is restoring design control, and you do that with KYB shocks and struts. Believe me, there's a good reason that more than 1 in 5 vehicles all over the world have KYB struts and shocks on them. Pick yours up at Federated Auto Parts. Welcome back to Two Guys Garage. All right, myself and Rick Squires from STS Turbo putting a whole lot of hoorah back in our Marines Corvette. Pretty cool, man. You size these twins up to the exact stock size of that muffler, fit in there nice and tight. So pretty cool, man. Tell me real fast how you address the lag situation, because a lot of people, it's obvious with a smaller turbo you don't have that inertia, but a lot of people 6, 7, 8 years ago would think that rear mounted turbos have a lot of lag.
Yeah, it's more of a perception than a reality. Turbo lag is something that really happens bad if you missize the turbos.
Talking about the AR ratios.
Yeah, so if your turbo's not sized for the right size motor, the horsepower you're making, then you end up with a turbo that's got a lot of lag.
Now, being in the back, how do you adjust the heat situation? How much heat loss is it?
There's about 500 degrees of heat loss between the front and the rear, which is great because the turbo's on a vacation back there. You know, it's not turning bright yellow.
Red, right?
Yeah, and you don't have to have a turbo timer and to cool everything down. You're not coking your oil. So it's nice for turbo durability. But as far as the spool up, you know, they're real responsive because all that exhaust energy is still contained in a sealed system.
Okay.
So when it comes out, it's hot, it expands, and it shoves that air right down to the turbine and spins it. It's amazing. Most people that drive them for the first time, that's their wow, this is so responsive. You'd think it'd be, you know, hey, when's it going to come on?
And I was doing some reading. It actually affects, you know, the inlet, the intake temperatures are affected by that piping that goes back up to it. You actually cool it off a little bit. Some applications don't even say that you actually need an intercooler.
Yeah, we get about 50% efficiency out of the piping that runs up to the front. Okay. So it's almost like having an intercooler on there with just the piping. Then when we stick another intercooler on there, your intake temps are almost ambient, so your horsepower per pound of boost is off the chart.
Nice. All right, so our next steps, we're going to get these scavenge pumps back on there, get the oil back up to the valve covers, where Mitch and Kev have already done drilled, have it ready, and we'll get these guys hanging in where the stock exhaust was, and we'll get to hear what these pups sound like, because I got to tell you, rear-mounted turbos sound awesome.
They do.
All right, now Rick and Willie, they got the hot gases going down there feeding those turbos. So it's spooling that turbine, which is driving the compressor wheel. So now our build and boost, and what we've done is we're going to start routing from the compressor out, up and over the wheel well, and then in through the rockers. So I got one on both sides, and you can see the tube sneaking through here. We're going to have another one come through this way. Now these are compressed air. This is what's going to feed the engine and make all that power. Now it's a little bit warm, so we're going to cool it down with intercooler. So right now, this pipe deadheads, and this one's going to deadhead here and feed this intercooler. So if we look over here, we've got the two inlets for the compressor out. They're going to move air through this radiator, right? Through the front of the car, which is going to mount up here. You know, the air's going to come through and cool it. We're going to collect it. And with this little dude right here, we're going to feed it right up into that throttle. Now, if you check it out, we've got a couple of doodads here. One is the MAF sensor. Mitch, why don't you come over and help me out? So this is our zip tube, our stock one. Our throttle body sits here, our air filter's down here. We're going to pull this MAF sensor out like that. And if you notice, somewhere buried on here will be a nice arrow to tell you which way the airflow goes. So I'll let you get that one in there. Perfect. We'll get some screws in there. And we've got a blow-off valve. And it's from TurboSmart. Now what this guy does here is, you know, you got your throttle blade. Let's see your throttle out here. Air's moving through. It's compressed. It's going to the engine. You got it wide open, you're making a lot of airflow. Well, what you do when you tip out, you shut that throttle, all that air is going to come slamming in here. The turbos are spooling, they got mass and momentum. They're going to shove a lot of air into this space, maybe blow off some hoses, put the turbo in surge. Not a good thing. So what do? You let it out. So this little valve right here, you attach to the intake manifold. So it's referencing that pressure. It's also seeing the pressure in this pipe. And when they get to the right conditions, psh, lets the air out. Pretty simple. All right, so we've got the MAF sensor on there. This guy's ready to go. I think we're about ready to mount this intercooler. All right, man. I'm out. I'm done. How you doing over there?
Good, man.
Good? Rick?
Tapped that well.
Dave,
Clear?
She's plumbed.
She's done. All right, man. All the plumbing on this ride is finished. We've gone through every little clamp, nut, bolt, bracket. There's a lot of shiny, cool stuff in here.
Yeah, I like the kind of stealth look, right?
Yeah, there's less stuff than there was stock.
A little hint of some performance upgrades with the blow-off valve there, but aside from that, it looks pretty stealthy, kind of stock.
Something down there that makes you go,
All right, what's your next steps?
Okay, we got to put the gauges in.
All right, gauges, where are we going?
Mitch?
All right, there we are.
What's up, buddy?
We have the air-fuel ratio gauge right here, which is also called the wideband, and we have the boost gauge right here. We'll be putting them right here, where we can connect some wires up to them, allowing the driver to see what his car is performing like.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little cockpit area in there for Mr. John. So we got this cleaned up. We're about ready to add the gauges, a little bit of wiring, throw the cowl on there.
And then when we come back, you're gonna find out a little bit more about the guy that's gonna be behind the wheel of this. I mean, it is for sure an American dream, but that guy, wow, what an American hero. Wait till you find out his story.
Stay tuned.
Hey, welcome back. All right, as you know, we got the turbos all tightened up. We got the exhaust all buttoned up. I'm gonna finish the pillar post here where we have our odometer gauge, we got a boost gauge, and this wideband gauge. You saw Mitch welding in our bung earlier, so it's not just your normal O2 sensor, so you get a whole spectrum to measure with. Kind of cool, a 14-year-old did that. And as you guys can see, as we get into this car, man, it's kind of got a stealthy look, something anybody would be proud to drive, especially our Marine, John Hayes. Now, once PPG heard his story, man, they wanted to get involved and they wanted to do some awesome stuff. That's why you get this stealthy look. Now, here's some guys from PPG telling you exactly how in-depth and crazy they got with this paint job. Check it out, I'm gonna finish this up.
This project is based off of a 2009 Chevrolet Corvette. This is actually a design I had sketched up a few years ago when I thought my dream car was going to be a new Corvette, but my wife and daughter talked me out of that.
A lot of the man hours were really spent on laying out the graphics, making sure everything was perfect. Basically, the graphics were meant to be subtle, but kind of still have that racing look, because a Corvette is a performance vehicle at the end of the day.
For this project, we've selected our EnviroBase waterborne base coat. Being that it's water-based, it is completely different from any solvent base coat that is out there. In this application, doing graphics, one of the big advantages of it is the quick dry and the thin film build. This paint dries, it dries about half the film build as a solvent base coat. So it makes it easier for us as we're layering different colors not to end up with big edges. PPG EnviroBase high performance base coat is a proven system. It is used on cars every day at the OEM plants. In the custom paint industry, it's just kind of getting its start. It's very durable, and like I say, the colors are just more vibrant. They really pop. Obviously, we put a lot of hours in this car, long days, but knowing who this is for, this Marine, he's such a young guy, it really is heart-wrenching. But the fact that these people go fight for us, they give us our freedoms, you know, we have the opportunity to do things like this. I can't wait to see the look on his face when he sees this. He's going to be so excited.
All right, welcome back to the break room. Now, first up, from the professionals at ATP, this is their AT205 Reseal.
Yeah, it's a plasticizer, right? What that does is softens up rubber. Comes in all kinds of different sizes. This is a little 2-ounce spray can for all your rubber bushings, your moldings, and so forth.
Yeah, and just like, you know, like leather or, you know, other materials, they'll sort of dry out over time. Yeah. What this will do is soften and expand the seal. So like a rear main seal, a transmission seal, you know, they'll get harder over time, and they
body
won't
mount
seal.
bushings and stuff like that tend to crack. And
Yeah, so you can either float it through your, you know, oil system,
Yep.
whether it's your power steering pump, your differential, your transmission, and you know, basically, you know, refurbish those seals, or like you're saying, you can kind of spray them on suspension bushings and body mounts.
there you go. It's the AT205 Reseal, available at Federated Auto Parts.
All right, next up from Gorilla Tools, it's the Find It socket labels.
Yeah, so many times we're hunting for tools, hunting for sockets. Hey, throw me the half-inch, get it, and you're fumbling around. These just make it simple.
Yeah, would you rather find that socket or would you rather find that socket?
Yeah,
you know,
pretty
how good
simple.
are your eyes? Well, what's cool is these are permanent adhesive, they're oil resistant. All you gotta do, is put the right number on the right socket.
Good trick there.
Bang, there it goes. Super simple, super easy. You put the red ones, you got all these metrics, you got the
Standard
the
as
black
well?
ones,
Yeah.
yep, for all your old school stuff, and man, you're ready to go. Just grab your tools and run.
There you go. It's the Find It socket labels from Gorilla Tools.
All right, next up is from Green Earth Technologies. It's a G-Oil. It's a bio-based, all-natural, full synthetic motor oil.
Yeah, it actually scored a 0 in toxicity on the MSDS hazard rating diamond. Pretty good stuff.
It's also got the highest biodegradability on the ASTM standards as well. And that's great because you got a lot of times where oil gets leached into the environment. Leaks, drips, bar oil in your chainsaw. So it's a great environmental product, but it's also full on performance, meets all the requirements for your OE for maximum oil life in your vehicle.
Superior performance, and it's made in America. G-Oil.
Your ride running a little bit hot, your clutch fan go out. Time to upgrade to the cooling fan from LMC Truck.
Yeah, LMC Trucks gives us this ultra-thin cooling fan, 8-blade fan, and an adjustable thermostat. Easy to mount up, easy to put on. And you can set it where you want it to run, 180 degrees, 200 degrees, whatever you want to set up so you get optimum fuel efficiency and horsepower.
That's right. It's an 8-blade design, super quiet, nice and cool, nice powerful motor on it. And LMC Truck has everything for your truck, from grills, headlights, taillights, bed liners, you
cooling
name
fans.
it. Yep. They've been around forever. Late 40s and up in all your Ford, your GMC, your Chevys, 94 up in your Dodges. Check them out online or get your free catalog. 30,000 parts in stock waiting for you. It's LMC Truck.
For more information about anything you've seen on today's show, check out speed.com or visit TwoGuysGarage.com. This segment of Two Guys Garage is brought to you by PPG, bringing innovation to the surface.
Well, I gotta love the fact that you can tune your car right in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, no doubt. It's all made easy.
Yeah, hey, welcome back to Two Guys Garage. We're just buttoning up a Marine Corvette. John Hayes is gonna be stoked to get behind the wheel of this thing and actually drive it.
Yeah, and what's cool is STS provides calibration. So all you gotta do is a quick download of the PCM. You're ready to go rip it up.
And this thing does just about everything you need to do, right?
Yeah, the Diablo Sport Intune's the latest tuner, and it's tiny, obviously.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of power in there, though. You can change your shifting, you can change your fueling, your spark, you can change your rev limits, all kinds of stuff in there.
Gotta tell you, with the Intune stall here, you got a manual that just does about every single thing possible with every picture laid out. I mean, look at that thing.
Yeah, so in case you don't have a Mitch and a Rick around to help you out, you got a lot of colored photos, every step-by-step detail, so you can do it yourself.
Okay, man, looks like we're ready to fire this up. Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
That's good stuff right there.
Hoorah, Rick.
Give it a little hand gas.
Yeah,
All
man.
right, man. Cool. All right, John. You are about to get a mean ride, but we got more stuff to do. We got a whole nother episode coming. Guys, appreciate all the help, man.
Man,
This is my brother right here. And I don't know if you've seen the show or not, but we might need a little help closing the hood. We got to go test drive. It's part of the contract.
Yeah, we have to. Burnouts, mandatory burnouts, end of every show.
All right, we're out of time, but we got a whole other episode coming, so keep an eye out. We'll see you next time.
See you later.